Hello and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Srikanth, joining you live from India's startup capital, Bangalore, and we have a power-packed show lined up for you over the next 20 minutes.
And I'm Krishna Kumar, coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios. First up, a check on all the headlines here at ET Now Startup Central. We kick off the show with an analysis of the impact of the reworked tax treaty with Mauritius and what it means. As far as startup investments are concerned, we have one of India's most active angel investors, Mohandas Pai, joining us here to throw more perspective on the matter. And moving on, Future Group promoter Kishore Biyani is planning to revamp his department store brand Central across cities in a bid to capture a larger share of discretionary spending in urban India. Biyani is counting on physical stores to bring in the majority of sales in the near term, even as he's beefing up his presence online. On our special segment, Budding Star, we featured Nestaway, a home rentals company that's making the experience of renting fully furnished homes seamless for home buyers and owners. We will be joined by its co-founder, Amarendra Sahu, to discuss more on their plans.
Let's take it to the top story then, Krishna, where we are analyzing the impact of that reworked tax treaty with Mauritius on startups. Now, why are we doing this? It's because most of the venture capitalists and hedge funds who invest in Indian startups largely do it through entities that are either based in Mauritius or Singapore. So between yesterday and today, we've really been speaking to many people on, what this means, what this will entail. And to really break it down for us, we have one of India's most active angel investors. We are, of course, talking about Mohandas Pai from Manipal Global. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on ET Now Startup Central. As one of India's most active angel investors, someone who works with startups closely, what is your own assessment of the reworked tax treaty with Mauritius and what this means as far as startups are concerned?
I think it's a very good move by the government to bring in certainty in the law. We know for sure that over the past many years, despite the law being clear, the income tax department was going after people using their discretion and trying to do all kinds of things to make sure they extort more money. Now that the government has said that we are going to have a very clear provision in the law that there will be a grandfathering scheme and there will be a slight discount to taxes for next 2 years, and after that, unless you are a Mauritius resident, in the sense money comes from Mauritius, not from anywhere else, you will be taxed as per the capital gains rules in India, and that removes an enormous amount of arbitrage and uncertainty. And I think that's very good news because we find more and more funds going through Singapore. We find many funds coming to India directly because they're fed up of this tax uncertainty. So I think it's very good. And also, it removes a major distortion from the Indian point of view, local residents' point of view, who have been complaining that they are treated like in a stepmotherly manner. And I think that loses the irritant, and our local mutual funds and overseas mutual funds are put on the same level. But Chandra, one important thing that's required is the fact that we need to relook our tax rules to make sure that if an overseas investor makes capital gains, not more than 1 year, because after 1 year is tax free, less than 1 year, then in that case, the exchange difference, that is, the tax is paid on the dollar value of the money bought in, not the rupee value. Because if there has been a rupee value depreciation and he gets more rupees, but in dollars is the same, he'll be paying taxes out of capital. So I think to that extent, there has to be some revision of the tax law, which I hope the government of India will do.
Mr. Pai, this is Krishna Kumar coming to you from ET Now's Mumbai studios. I wanted to ask you, but won't this impact startups negatively, considering a majority of investments by venture capitalists and hedge funds are routed via entities in Mauritius?
Well, definitely for startup investment, the existing capital gain exemption to Mauritius entities will go, and if they don't get the money from Mauritius, then if they invest in startups beyond 2 years of sale, they still have to pay the 20% tax subject to indexation. And I think if they get the benefit of being accounted in dollars, like I said earlier, that their profits are accounted dollar to dollar, and they get that exemption. I think it's applicable in some other cases. Then I think they're okay, but the taxes they have to pay not coming through Mauritius because the new law will be higher in future. So there will be some impact, but I guess they have to learn to live with it because they will enjoy the indexation benefit, and the indexation benefit may not substitute fully for the tax holiday benefit that Mauritius offers. But I think many of the funds are coming to Singapore too. So I guess the system has to grow up, the system has to mature, we become a larger place for FDI and everything else, and venture and the startup funding should be in the same nature as FDI. So I think you know there will be a hit, but I guess people have to learn to live with it.
All right, Mr. Pai, you know, in the US, you know, if you are, you know, you don't have to pay taxes for your capital gains over there. You're only taxed here in India. That's how much of how the West operates. So you invest in that country and it's not taxed there. Why should India then be different?
Well, I think in the US, you will have a direct country-to-country double taxation treaty. Now look at what happens in India. There's a US investor, US-India have a double taxation treaty, and that says that the tax gains of a US resident will be taxable in the United States. But what the US investor does is go to Mauritius, becomes a Mauritius resident, and from Mauritius invests into India. So the tax treaty that applies is Mauritius to India, not US to India, despite the money coming from the US. By creating an entity in Mauritius, the benefits of no capital gains in Mauritius comes to him. Now the tax laws say that if your US money going to Mauritius, then Indian law will apply. But if your US money coming directly to India, then you will have to comply with US law or whatever the double taxation treaty between India and the US says. So I think this is a much better, because this reduces, let us say, TT shopping, what is called TT shopping. And TT shopping is now going to become less because of BEPS, the base erosion and profit scheme. I think it's going to become less because OECD has come with certain norms. And I think this is a part of the cleanup exercise globally in international tax.
Mr. Pai, from what we understand, when VCs invest in startups, it mostly happens in the form of preference shares, because you know preference shares entail extra rights. But with this coming in, again, will they have to be structured differently, you know, converted into common shares before getting an exit? What kind of changes need to be done as far as structure is concerned of these investments?
Chandra, in the budget, the government has amended the law to say if you have a preferred stock or a convertible instrument, the date of original investment for capital gain purposes will be the date of the purchase or investment in this instrument, despite the conversion happening later. So it goes back. I think it's very good, because that's been there's clarity on this scheme now, is applicable to all convertible instruments. That's very good news. So I think the issue of tax structuring comes down substantially right now if you have a convertible instrument, because that is a gray area. And I think the second issue about any kind of restructuring is if they use very complex structures, they all will be grandfathered. Please remember, all investments coming to Mauritius till 31st of March 2017 will be grandfathered, and from 17 to 19 any investment made will have to pay 50% of the tax they would have to pay otherwise, and that's a good concession. So the real impact comes from 2019. So everything done this year up to this year end will go by the earlier law. So I think it's a very good measure, so all the people who already invested don't have to worry.
All right, Mr. Pai, I have one last question to ask you before we let you go. You know, startups getting domiciled outside India was also an issue, both for business and tax reasons. Will that attractiveness then come down now as a result of this particular agreement?
Yes, I think the domicile issue will be addressed substantially because of this. Domicile happens for strategic regions, domicile happens for business reasons, and happens for tax reasons. The tax reasons become less compelling because of the way the treaties are going to be structured. The strategic reasons remain, and that's what India needs to address. And the strategic reasons have got to do with M&A transactions too. That M&A in India is still complex under foreign exchange laws, and now the RBI has come out with certain norms for escrow and all that, which is very improvement, but little bit more needs to be done. Our listing regulations are very, very good, but I think they're asking for a bit more, which hopefully should get done. And these two will remove some of the strategic reasons. So if 100 is the base, now I think with the listing getting improved, hopefully the forest getting improved, and the tax clarity coming, the 100 reason would come down to maybe 50 or 60, and that's entirely business-led. And I think that business-led will remain because if IP and everything is necessary for sale in the United States or elsewhere where people feel more comfortable, or they require some particular kind of structuring, that will remain. But I understand what you're saying, and I think this will improve matters for the next few years.
All right, Mr. Pai, we will let it go at that. But as always, it's a pleasure to have you here on 18 Hours Startup Central. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. All right, Chandra, then time to move on to something that you've been busy with the whole day. Future Group promoter Kishore Biyani is planning to revamp his department store brand Central across cities in a bid to capture a larger share of discretionary spending in urban India. Biyani, who recently took charge of the merged Bharti Future retail entity, is counting on physical stores to bring in the majority of sales in the near term, even as he's beefing up his online presence. Chandra did catch up with him in Bengaluru. Let's listen to the conversation that they had.
This is our statement that now Central is in a reckoning. We are opening 9 new stores this year. The store is of a very different order and quality. Everybody will have to raise their standards to this level. So we are setting the competition now.
Right. And I think this store at least involved nearly investment of 70 to 80 crore. Is that going to happen across Central stores in India?
Quite a lot of Central stores are undergoing change. Next is going to be Hyderabad. There are new store coming up in Delhi called the Aero City, the new location. That's a much evolved store than this also. And that's a little larger store. So there are all the stores will be going through a systematic change.
Right. But sir, how, what sense does it make to invest so much in physical
that's a business
retail?
decision which we have taken. And we believe a product where you spend a lot of money, you want to feel it, you want to see it, you want to experience it, you want others to see it along. Nobody spends money more than 1,200, 1,500 rupees on a e-commerce site here.
No, but considering there are sites that offer luxury goods, that offer, branded goods, do you still think customers will, go for touch and feel than online?
I think world over it has happened. There is nobody, I think 95% of the business still comes physical store.
And sir, also just want to get your thoughts on this. In the last, RAI meeting, you raised issues about recent norms. Yesterday, I think RAI has called for an ED probe of marketplaces. Is this a witch hunt? Why is this really necessary considering they will comply with norms? They themselves have said that.
I am not aware of anything as such. I was not part of the meeting.
Okay. So, if you can also tell me, you recently also took charge at Bharti Retail. What is the strategy going to be there going
Future
forward?
Retail, the retail business has merged with Bharti Retail, and there's nothing which has changed. We have now large stores and we have small stores, and that continues to work the way it used to work.
Right. So this format is also a bet on rising consumer spend, discretionary spend in particular. Do you think we are in the right economic environment for that? The overall trends that you see as far as discretionary and consumer spend is concerned?
I think we are quite positive with India growing at 7 to 8%. I think we add up around $300 billion of consumption every 5 years, and that's a huge spend. And major spend is happening on food and fashion, and we are part of both the businesses.
Right. You've beefed up your online presence through Fab Furnish in the interiors category, which is also fairly high margin compared to others. What are your plans in other lucrative categories like fashion, marketplaces? What are your plans on that?
I think we have started with the specialty retail. We want to be in specialty retail for a while before we decide on the next step.
Chandra, interesting to hear that answer when you questioned him about the ED probe on e-commerce companies, Retailers Association of India. A man who speaks so much to newspapers is very reticent when it comes to the television cameras, I must say. But we need to take a short breather here on 18 Hours Startup Central on that note. But coming up on the other side is an exclusive chat with Amarendra Sahu of home rental company Nestaway, who is our budding star on the show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be chatting him up in a couple of minutes from now.
Hello and welcome back to 18 Hours Startup Central. We have a budding star on the show. Krishna, you have to introduce our star today.
Well, absolutely. We just did, Chandra. To put into perspective, today's feature, Nestaway, a home rentals company that's making the experience of renting fully furnished homes seamless for home buyers and owners. And that's the reason why I want to have a conversation with him once this program gets over. But we are being joined by co-founder Amarendra Sahu to discuss more about their future plans going forward. Amarendra, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us over here. You recently closed your Series C round of funding led by Tiger Global. This really marks the entry of Tiger Global after a long hiatus. How difficult was it to close this funding, and where will you be deploying these funds?
Tiger Global is an existing investor, and I would seem to think Nestaway is a different business from a business model perspective, and from the other interesting parameters that investors like to track. So I guess for us, convincing Tiger Global, they were already convinced when they invested us in the first round. And I guess the growth, the outlook, the team, the brand that we are trying to build, all fell in place. So I honestly didn't feel the heat of raising funds. Based on our plan, we are going to deploy these funds into city expansion, brand building, and technology.
Help us understand how different you are from other players in the market in terms of how you would differentiate yourself, and also how big is this market potentially and how fast can you grow?
So, if you look at the residential real estate sector, you could broadly classify them into two chunks. One is sale, the other is rental. That's the commercial activity that happens in residential real estate. And if you look at it, a lot of these existing real estate players are more focused on selling a new home, whereas we are completely focused on getting rentals work. Now there are many ways you could do it. A lot of people, the existing portals that you know of, sort of just plain the discovery function, wherein people just go there and find lot more houses. And I guess the business model is very, very different than ours, wherein we say that we are more like a shop. The houses that are there, none of them are stale. You could book it online completely. So we are bringing, if Amazon were to do rentals, how would they do it? If we are trying to answer that question via Nestaway, and it's just not about discovery. We assist both the owner and the tenant in fulfillment and post conversion services, may it be rent collection, may it be agreements, may it be door-to-door services. Think of us as the prime architect in the game, wherein we set templates, we set rules that the partner ecosystems need to follow in order to deliver services into our ecosystem. So we are the protector of interests and the template creators into the game. I guess that's different. It's a full stack intervention, and some of the things that we do in terms of taking ownership into the game speaks is more towards that.
Amarendra, I can completely understand, why you were focused on bachelors to start with until recently, when you opened the platform up for families as well. Tell us what exactly drove this decision on consumer shift.
When we were trying to solve the singles problem, I think what came resounding to us time and time again, that is fundamentally a trust issue. The owners don't trust the tenants with their homes. The tenants don't trust owners with their deposits, and the services that one expects when they take a home on rent. Maybe regular repairs, checkups, and other things. And we realized that the problem is equally hard both for families, and it's a trust issue. And the trust was more in question when it was singles. Trust is somewhat under control for families, but then again it's an issue. Otherwise, why would I, in Bangalore for example, it's not that families don't get asked for 10 months of deposit. So when we figured that out, that we were able to solve the trust issues, we just thought that we might as well solve the trust issues for families as well. And I guess the responses are directionally positive at the moment. We believe that there are a lot of what we call remote owners, people who have a property and stay at least 5-6 kilometers away, and a large pool of that is NRIs, are the owners who seek convenience. Look, it's like if you have money, you go and deposit with a bank. If you have a house and you don't think you are able to take care of it, you come and deposit with Nestaway and put it to its best use case, and then things happen for you. So I guess it's more from that view that we have launched families, and we are pretty confident that we will replicate our success in bachelor rental, in family rentals as well.
The all-important monetization question, currently this happens through a commission on rent, but going forward, will value-added services, really be a big contributor? Take us through the plans you have as far as monetizing is concerned.
You're partly right on that part, that we are going to introduce a range of value-added services, but we are not desperate to monetize them, because I guess we are in a phase where we want to nurture the brand, wherein we wanted to make sure that people trust us enough with their homes, the owners and tenants trust us with the long-term relationship. I guess we are the only brand in the country where people spend 24/7 with us, and that's a lot of responsibility on us, and we don't want to deprioritize that by focusing on early monetization.
Amarendra, you are present in 7 cities currently, and a huge chunk of your business comes from Bengaluru. Tell us, will you be looking at launching operations in many more cities, or remain focused on the current operations?
I guess I'll answer the first part of your question. We are large in Bangalore because this is the market where we started with. A large part of our team sits here, and other cities we have started in October-November timeframe. So I guess it's just about 4-5 months, and today they contribute to 50% of the new growth. It's just that the base is large. Bangalore had a runway of about 6 months before that, so Bangalore seems a little larger for us now, and we are looking forward to expanding our services to Mumbai and Chennai this year. And the idea is to build Nestaway as a network of entrepreneurs, so that tomorrow if 2 promising guys from Jodhpur wants to take away our brand and enable the local rental market to leverage that, we should be ready. In 2 years, 2 to 3 years from today, you should see us in every corner of India, because we wanted to build it for entrepreneurs. We have seeded it in 4 cities. We are going to keep seeding it in other cities, but then we will also look forward to sort of create and share values with other entrepreneurs in different markets. We see a lot of requests from different cities today. Just the way we have started, we have a lot of work to do, both on technology front, both on operations front, both on template front, to make sure that people from different cities can come and leverage Nestaway's network to make sure rental gets better and better in their areas.
Thanks so much for joining us today, and here's wishing you the very best going forward. I'm sure getting money from Tiger Global in this environment, Krishna, must mean something. But with that, we come to the final segment of the show today, which is number crunch, and the number we are crunching for you today is 400%. Believe it or not, that's the percentage by which the wealth of an average Indian rose in the last decade, between 2005 to 2015. That's according to a report by New Wealth. Now, no actual numbers here, but according to this report, that's the percentage rise of wealth of an average Indian compared to the decline that Europe saw during the same period. I guess the financial crisis, the debt crisis, those are some things to blame there. But if you look at per capita income, I'm not sure if India has really gone up that much, because the gap between the haves and the have-nots is still huge. But Krishna, this is something, 400%. I wonder if you feel richer today compared to 2005.
I guess that question was certainly coming my way. No, Chandra, I don't, considering we just had the inflation number break on this channel short while ago, and that is again inching up after January. I don't feel any richer unless inflation in this country comes down, because at the end of the day, the value of money is determined by how much things cost, and if that's going to keep going up, no matter how much you make, it is never going to be enough to make you from a have-not into a have. On that note, we need to wrap things up here on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Thank you so much for watching. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.